Hey guys, what is going on? Figured I'd do a sound design tutorial. I don't know what I'm going to create. Let me amplify the size here so you guys can see it. I think maybe we'll try some nice pads. How about that? All right, you're starting off with the waveform here. Let's choose something a little more interesting. Sounds very square wave-ish. Yeah, that sounds kind of nice. Let's bump up the unison here, get some voices, and sort of reduce the amount of detune. This in and of itself sounds really nice, so remind me to put an LFO or some type of envelope here so we can get that nice sort of detuning lushness, right? Already sounds like a promising pad. Let's send it to our filter. Open up that filter a little, maybe adjust the slope. So the slope, 12 dBs per octave, 18 dBs per octave, 24 dBs per octave refers to the amount of sort of the decline or the sharpness of that slope as you reach the cutoff. So I guess the more sort of vertical the line is, the more it tends to cut off some of those higher frequencies. You can see that 24 is much darker than 6. All right, so if you want to make your sound a little darker, you can always adjust the slope of your filter. Let's see. All right, let's see if we can make some adjustments with our wavetable by simply bending it. That sounds really nice. There we go. All right, quite often we add a waveform and then we sort of leave it, but there's a lot that you can do just with this little module here: the detune, the blend, the phase, the randomness. All right, so I'm going to start introducing some LFOs right out the gate here. As I mentioned, let's have one maybe oscillating here on the detune. I'm going to set it to bidirectional. I hit the options, shift, and then I hit this sort of horseshoe symbol, and then it changes the bidirectionality between, it toggles between bidirectional and unidirectional. You can also make that adjustment right here in the matrix by clicking the type. So this is unidirectional, bidirectional. All right, let's head back to the oscillator main page here. And this will be a little overkill. I am going to reduce the rate. Bump that up a little more. All right, I think when it gets to this sort of 12 o'clock area, it's a little much, so this is how we can sort of dial it back a bit. Yeah, so we're right there at the point where it starts to sound a little too janky. All right, let's affect our envelope. Let's see, let's use envelope number 1 to affect the volume here. By default, envelope 1 is tethered to the amp, but I like to have a little more control here by assigning it to the actual output level of the oscillator. I'm going to bump up the release, so when I let go of the keys, we have a bit of a release, a longer tail. And of course, we can always bump up the attack so the pad sort of swells into its, its form. All right, that doesn't sound too bad. Let's see what else we have. Let's try to bring in another oscillator here. I'm going to try using maybe the default one, which is a sawtooth, and maybe apply a little bit of sync here. Let me lower the volume and route it to oscillator B. This is what it sounds like. And let's bump up those voices. Let's also add envelope 1 to the output of oscillator B here. And then we can control the amount or the volume of oscillator B. Alright, so to distinguish between these two, what I like to do is add a little bit of height to the sound. So I'm going to bump up the octave here. So oscillator B will play at an octave higher, should sound a little brighter. And then I'm going to scale it back. Don't think we need it to be that loud. Let's keep going. Let's see if we can adjust the randomness here. And this basically refers to the starting point of the waveform. You can see that when I adjust this control, you see this sort of green line here. Well, the sample will start at various points throughout the cycle. It's a nice little subtle effect. Maybe we'll add LFO number 1 to this, and I'll set it to, again, bidirectional value. So the starting point occurs at different points throughout the waveform. Really subtle. You might not even hear the difference. Let's see if we can use LFO number 1 to affect the blend here. And let's also do the same for the detune. Let's see if we can push it a little more. I'm trying to avoid that 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock area, but let's see what it sounds like with oscillator A. Alright, that's not bad. Let's add a little bit of detuning here. So I'm going to use LFO number 2. Lower the amount here. I'm going to send this LFO2 to the fine control here. This affects the pitch. I'm going to leave it at full throttle and then I'll scale it back. You'll see what this does. And of course you can do this to taste. If you really want it to sound really sort of old school and wobbly, you can go ahead and do that. Might even delay this a little bit so that when I hit a key, I don't want it to start detuning immediately. You can hear the difference between if I set it to immediate, it starts detuning right away, but if I delay it, stays in tune for 0.7 of a second, and then we start the detuning process. Again, this is something you can do to taste. Alright, so let's see what else we have. Let's adjust the resonance. Maybe add some drive and some fatness to our sound. Let me lower the volume. If I toggle the button here, I can set the level. Since I'm adding quite a bit of volume with the drive and the fat control, I'm going to reduce the output of the filter. It has this built-in output here. It's kind of hidden, so you have to toggle it back and forth. Let's see how we can improve this sound. Let's mess around with, let's use envelope number 2, and we are going to set this to our cutoff. I'm going to lower that sustain, and I'm also going to bump up the attack. Let me set it to bidirectional. Let's make it a little brighter. All right, we can adjust the decay here of our amp. All right, let's bump up the polyphony here. I'm just gonna set it at, let's say, 28. I don't think we're ever gonna play all these notes, but hey, you never know. Bump up the resonance a bit. Bump up the release. So the release, the filter release, when I let go of the key, that, if you want it longer, you can always extend it. If you want it shorter, so hold and then release. So that's what we are affecting here. Now, one thing to be mindful of is the release time of our envelope. So you have to kind of make sure that the release of the envelope sort of matches the release of the filter. Let's say I were to take the amp release and set it to, I don't know, let's say less than a second. So I have it here at 500 milliseconds, and then the filter release is at 3 seconds. See, it doesn't really work because the volume gets cut off right away. So we have to compensate. We have to allow, for this to be heard, we have to make sure the amp release is somewhere matching this or close. You know, it doesn't have to be exact. All right, let's see what else we can do. So let's start adding some effects here. I don't want to go too crazy. I'm tempted to use this noise. You know, let's go ahead. Let's engage the noise control here. I'm gonna stay safe and use the J106 chorus. Kind of has this nice chorusing white noise effect. Let me play this. So this is what we're gonna add to this signal. We can always pitch it up or down. I'm gonna leave it somewhere around here. It's getting kind of harsh. We have to EQ some of this guy out at the 4K. You can hear that harshness. So let's go ahead and add this to the filter, and I am also going to make sure that envelope 1 is controlling the output of our noise generator here. Alright, so that's a little too much. Let's engage our other oscillators and make sure that we are going to route the noise generator to our filter here. Simply hit the M. There we have it. Let me toggle on and off when we can hear what it's contributing to the sound. Alright, that sounds pretty good. It might be a little loud. Let's see if we can make some adjustments. I'm going to set LFO2 to the pan pot here. Set it to bidirectional and see what it sounds like. Might be a little much. Alright, not bad. Let's start messing around with some of the effects here, because it's sounding not bad, but I think we could improve the sound. Okay, first thing I want to do is, let's keep this simple. Let's add some reverb here. Bump up the size and the decay. We can experiment between a plate and a delay. Maybe filter out some of those lows. Nice. We're going to set the right channel to an eighth note and the left will be at quarter notes. Alright, let's add a little bit of chorus. I think chorus could sound really hot with this, but not to overdo it. The trick with the chorus is to just dial in the right settings. I don't want it to sound too washed out. The rate might be a little too fast. Alright, we're almost done. Let's add a little bit of EQing here. To me, the top end sounds a little kind of harsh, so we're going to go hunting for that harshness. So I set it to the peak algorithm here, and then we're going to sort of bump it up and look for that offending frequency. So what I'm hearing is this sort of that's usually in the 4K area. Okay, there's some peakiness here at the 2K area. Let's... Yeah. So it's about 2400 hertz. I thought it sounded a bit like 4K-ish. I was off by like 1500 hertz. Maybe even... I want it to sound nice and warm. All right, let's see. Okay, you know what? Let me go find the other. Yeah, this is what I'm hearing. Yeah, this stuff. Where is this? 7. All right, we have a nice little pad. I'll leave this pad for you guys if you guys want to experiment and have some fun. You can download this. I'll be sure to tether it to this post. All right, have fun.